Hey, folks, it's Lindsey Huddleston back in the building. SPS, that is, with another SPS mental health moment. And the great thing about technology is that even though we can't be face-to-face, it allows me to connect with people. I get to connect with my guy, Coach DB Dale Beard, representing Sexton this season, but an Everett Viking through and through. And happy to be able to have you on this platform right now and talk. Coach, how you doing?
I'm good, man. Just doing the quarantine thing and staying safe, man.
Now, some of us quarantine is hard. I know you somebody who get around a lot. You move around a lot, man. So, how you doing with having to sit still for a minute?
Well, I go my few places here and there and come back. I got I gotta get out and get some fresh air. I've been doing a lot of bike rides, man, and just doing a lot of walking and stuff like that, just to stay in shape and stay healthy, man.
No, that's good. You always got that look, man. You got that teenage look all the time. Well, I think the last time you and I did a formal interview during Moneyball, I was beating that campaign drum for you, man. I said, man, this guy needs to be coaching somewhere, man. This guy needs to be doing it. So I don't know if you had a little secret that you kept to yourself or you knew something was about to pop, but lo and behold, now my guy is holding down for the Sexton Big Reds. Tell me how that's been.
Oh man, it's been great, man. I thought that when I got back into it, it was time. I had been out for 2 years, being assistant with Desmond Ferguson over at Everett, and just itching to get back into it, man. And Dan Bogan, the principal at Sexton, and Chris Henderson, the athletic director, and Mr. Mendez were really honoring me when I came in, man. So I thought it was a good situation. So, I got back into it, man, and it's been great, man. Things have been going good.
Yeah, you've always been one who's been very humble. I mean, 1977 state championship with Everett High School, a close friend to Irvin Magic Johnson, and always able to kind of share that perspective, played professional basketball, and to be able to bring your talents back to Lansing and coach these young people has always been great. How has that been for you transitioning with all your life experiences and coaching young people in 2020?
Well, I felt, with the experience I had, man, I just, wanted to give back, you know what I mean? And I think, when you do that, it wasn't just basic for me for publicity or nothing like that, man. I just felt like, if a person is blessed in something and in a certain area, to be able to do things like that, man, I felt that that was something I wanted to do. And so, I was coaching out in LA with Sam. We were out in the D League coaching up in Anaheim before I got back to Michigan. So I just this is something I wanted to do, man. And just an opportunity came, man. I just thought, hey, this is time. And like I said, with the experience, man, and the know-how and the just preparing, and get these young guys and just giving back to the young fellows and try to make them young guys into men after they graduate. So this is why I came back to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. You're doing an excellent job, by the way. I had the pleasure of sitting down with your high school coach, Mr. George Fox, and he shared some great information about you guys when you got ready for your big run and how he would take you guys down to Detroit and you would match up with all these teams from Saginaw and all over. Take me back with that briefly, Dale. What was it like being a player then and being a championship caliber player? And what is that like trying to coach guys now in 2020 to hopefully be like that too?
Well, back then, it was more of, you played a lot. We didn't have a lot, quite naturally, no AAU. So you played where you had to play, and so that meaning in saying that is that if you had to go to each park in town to play games, that's what you did. You went where all the players were playing, and so we had to get better that way as far as just basketball wise. And then when we got to high school, it was almost like we knew that was our AAU time, because we all kind of rallied together and one team and just kind of went from there. And it just it turned out, man. And I was talking to Magic the other day, man. We got to talking about the Eastern and Everett game and how they beat us the last regular season game back in '77 at the Jennison Fieldhouse, and 4 days later we had to play them the first game in the district, and we beat them in the district. So um, those days, man, it just, I don't think it's going to be days like that around anymore
Yeah,
because it's just the way the game has changed, and each generation has changed. So, um, but not to say it's bad now, but it's just that was a big thing back then. So we had a few more players and more schools that were more competitive now. Well, back then I should say, but and then versus now, I just feel like now, I think it's getting back. We have some great coaches in the area, man, and I've gotten along with all the coaches this first year being at Lansing
who
Sexton.
not gonna get along with you, Dale Beer? You the coolest cat around, man.
Well, hey, I did have to come out a little, my bag a little bit, a couple games with,
Okay,
with
okay,
some
okay.
coaches. I thought some things were right,
All right, okay, I get it.
but yeah, but it was good to get that, good camaraderie with those coaches, man, because that's what our coaches did back in the day. George Fox and Paul Cook, and and on and on. It was that's just the way it was. You just never had grudges against coaches, and I think that's what I'm trying to bring back now. Is hopefully we can have good rapport with a lot of these coaches, and everybody just help each other out.
Yeah. Tell me, to have played at the highest level and coached at the highest level, referring to the professional ranks, can it be difficult sometimes when you've been able to play at a high level and be in that space and trying to get young people who may not be developed like they should be at this point to execute the way you want? I mean, do you feel really challenged sometimes with what you've done and trying to get these guys to do some form of what you've done?
Yes, yes, and I think any coach will tell you that coming from a higher level and to bring it down to a lower level, there is a big difference in changes because, especially like from the NBA to college to high school, you just don't have that quite talent as you do in high school as you do in college and pro. So you do have to tweak some things and understand that some of the guys on the team aren't going to do exactly what you ask them to do because they're not able to do it. And so, and you can't get mad at that. You just gotta go with the punches, and hopefully that some of the stuff that you are teaching that they will absorb and and uh, translate on the court when we play. So, um, so that's a big that's a big chance. But I think this year our guys did a great job doing some of that. Versus me being a first year coach, I didn't know some of the players, and
Right.
they didn't know me. So I thought things went great.
Right. I'm going to try to help out any coach who's watching right now to try to get some, uh, benefit from you. How do you communicate to a kid who probably thinks they're much better than what they are, and they're not, but you're still trying to get them to understand where they need to be, especially if they got ego, they got all this other stuff going on because they're feeling good about social media, and they thinking they really the man, and you can just see with your own two eyes they're not there yet. How do you get that point across if that's not the case?
Well, first of all, when you get these kids, you have to know them. Sometimes what I felt like this year, I got to know some of the guys better than faster than I thought I would because I got into their heads as far as their family lives, what's going on, in school. You have to find those things out. I think before you try to uh, break them down as far as their basketball game because they have to realize, how many guys really make it into college to get college, college scholarships, and from there they got to realize how many guys make it to the NBA. So what I always do, I break down numbers for them. How many colleges in the country, how many D1 colleges in the country, how many scholarships are on each team, and then go from there. How many teams are in the NBA? How many guys are on, you know, uh, guaranteed contracts? How many guys they're going to keep out of 20 guys, and you're one of the 20 guys. So you break it down like that, and hopefully they get more perspective out of their game. So and some of the guys worked harder after I explained some of that stuff in some of our meetings, and I think I thought I think I did a good job in and making a couple of those guys better. So hopefully, if they don't go to college, that they'll be successful out in the real world.
I think that's an amazing approach, because what you just did, you took all the politics out of it. You took the personal issue out of it. So somebody say, oh, you just don't like me. No, I don't have nothing to do with me. It's a numbers game. And if you can't meet these numbers, then it has nothing to do with me. That's great. Probably the most watched show right now, with us all being on quarantine, is The Last Dance. They moved it up because the NBA finals aren't taking place. And I'm sure you have a very unique perspective, of course, because of your great friendship with one of the people featured in The Last Dance, probably the second most, if not third most featured person, being Earvin Magic Johnson, as it relates to that. First of all, what is it like watching that when you have a perspective that's a little bit more insightful? Heck, I got to look at make sure you're not in some of the documentary, make sure you're not in the back somewhere. So what is it like when you watch that? Say what?
I was. I think I was, but I think they cut some of me out of there, man.
Oh, yeah? I'm not surprised. So first of all, what is it like when you watch that, and being so close to those guys and that experience? What is it like watching The Last Dance for you?
It brings back memories, man. I mean, because I was kind of like in the hunt of a lot of that stuff was going on back then, and you just don't get a lot of. I think a lot of people don't get is getting the wrong idea about a lot of the stuff that happened back then, and it just wasn't as bad as they're putting it out to be, but they have to do it. So for me personally, I think
Right.
I think because knowing the inside of some of the stuff, but watching it, I think is very interesting, man, because it's giving people, I think, some kind of knowledge of how rough it is to be a professional athlete. It's you can't go anywhere. You can't. It's hard for you to go to the grocery store or to a gas station and stuff like that. So, and then you're always being criticized or something for the little thing you do. And so
And that wasn't even with social media. They didn't even have social media going on right then.
Right, and see that exactly. And so to see that now, they just seeing the bad parts of it, like, if you want to say.
Right.
They didn't say, well, okay, how Michael, gave to all these charities, and how he built the place down in North Carolina hospital. So it's like they don't say all like the good things. They want to just think that these two guys are just hating each other for all their lives. And I think I'm a friend of Isaiah Thomas's. And I think, he's taking a bad rap, but, like, again, they're just showing what they think that happened back then, all the bad things. So, hopefully, people can get a better idea of it and understand that, that it wasn't as bad as it looked.
That's really helpful when you say that. I guess another somewhat controversial question for you is when people talk about Jordan versus LeBron, first of all, can you compare the two? Do you look at the different eras? And if not, how do you rate who's the best and why?
You look at both of those guys, and for me, being in both eras, seeing both guys play, their games are just they're just different, man. It's just that Michael, I think, was more of a scorer. And I just think LeBron is just more of a basketball player, that can get the job done. Not that Michael didn't. I mean, the guy was on all defensive team, 8-9 years straight. But it's just that I think Michael was more of a scorer, and you can't really compare those two, because LeBron is just, 6'9", 260. And LeBron and Michael's 6'6" and maybe 215. But those two guys were. There's just no comparison in those two for me. I just think, like I say, everybody thought, asked me, well, who do you think will win a one-on-one between Magic and Michael? I said, Michael will win. Well, that's your guy. Well, I'm telling you, that's what Michael do. He's a scorer, and Irv's not. You know what I mean? So he probably would beat him in a one-on-one. So
Keeping it all the way real, right?
What's that?
I said, you was keeping it all the way real. Like, that's my guy, but, he's a scorer. We talking basketball.
Well, yeah, and so you got to give him the credit. That's what Michael do. He's going to beat you one-on-one. There's just no question about it. But but LeBron and Mike, though, man, like I said, I just think, those two guys are two totally different players. And again, like I said, Michael was a scorer, and I just think LeBron is just the basketball player that has a lot of attributes to his game. So yeah, it's just hard to compare, man.
Yeah, that's an excellent analysis, and I always kind of take that approach. Why do you think people are so big on trying to find one where it has to come down? And then where does Kobe Bryant fall in this too?
Yeah. Well, if anybody want to compare anybody, it's got to be Kobe to Michael. I mean, you look at them; they're the same size, 6'6". They do the same thing. They got the same mannerism. They both would tear your heart out when it's time to. I mean, they just took no prisoners, man. When it came between them four lines, and Kobe Bryant. That's why I keep saying it. They keep trying to compare Michael and LeBron. I mean, Kobe has got to be in that conversation. You know what I mean? It's just no way you can leave Kobe out of that.
Tell me this, and that's really great stuff. How much do rings matter, Dale? How much do championships matter in the overall discussion about who's great or who's some of the best?
At one point I thought that was the main thing, the rings, and then that kind of shifted a little bit, over the years, because you think about the guys that they're top 50 players, that don't have a ring. See, and then you say, oh, okay, this was one top 50 player, but Charles Barkley doesn't have a ring. Patrick Ewing doesn't have a ring. You know what I'm saying? So, Clyde Drexler don't have a ring. So you go down the line and say, okay, well, they were the top players, but they never won any championships. So at one point that was, the ideal thing, that you had to have more rings, because there's still an argument that, that Bill Russell, that Kareem is the best player that ever played.
But Bill had what, 11 or 13? He had them on all fingers plus a couple.
11 rings in 13 years. But Kareem is leading everything. Leading scoring, most MVPs, down the line. So if they want to really say the best player that ever played the game, it's got to be Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
So why do they even cut them out to discuss, you think? Why do they cut out Kareem and Bill Russell and just start with Michael and go forward?
Because I think, those guys weren't flashy. If you think about it, Kareem, he just had the sky hook, man. You know what I mean? And that was Kareem. I mean, he being 7'2", he was a good shot blocker. He ran the floor when he had to, and but he wasn't the razzle dazzle type like the LeBron and the Michael and the Kobe's. Right. So now it's like I say, as the generations change, that was the generation that people saw. So that was more of the excitement of the NBA.
And my observation would also be, LeBron is more accessible. We can watch LeBron on our phone. We can see the highlights on social media. We can see all this stuff, so it's easy to look at that and compare. That Last Dance insight has been great, but the reason that we got on this is because we can't be face-to-face. So, Dale, with the time we have, what inspiring words can you give not only to the Sexton Big Red family, to the greater Lansing community, or just the sports world as a whole, as far as how we're going to get through this and what life will be like once we get on the other side?
Well, give it to everybody, man. Like I said, it's just we got to be in conjunction of what we're supposed to do, man. It's just being safe, staying home, wear a mask when we're out, just be courteous of other people, man. You have to do these things to get through what we're going through right now, man. And I think if we continue to do that, we'll see that our country and our nation will start to decline and get back to what we're used to doing. You know what I mean? Because this is something, man. I tell you what, we went through a lot of generations where we didn't go through the World War Ones and the World War Twos. We didn't go through the Depression times, and so this time here is the time we're going through. So once we get done, and comply with what we have to do, man, things will be all good. So hopefully everybody, do what we're supposed to do, man, and stay safe.
I appreciate that. One more thing I want to say, based on something you said, wearing a mask isn't about being weak. It's about being courteous. It's about saying to your fellow man, look, I don't care. I don't even care if you've been tested and you don't have it. but this is to make us all feel good while we out here moving around. I mean, I think that was a great word to use. It's just the courtesy you would have towards somebody else, you know, instead of you talking about your political views or how you're not going in and out. But I just want to share that. Well, Coach, I appreciate you. I'm sure the greater Lansing area is appreciative of you for what you have and what you're doing, and the fact that you could be doing so many other things, but you choose to give back to these young people, then also making time to get on the SPS mental health moment with me, man. That's appreciated too.
Hey, I appreciate you. You know that, man. Anytime, man, you call me, I'm there for you, bro. You know that.
My guy, my guy. Well, with
You
that,
my
we got
guy.
Dale Beard, Sexton High School Big Reds, 1977 state champion with Everett High School, and a great man all the way around. So we'll catch up with you next time, okay?
Okay, man. Appreciate you, man. Be safe.
All right, great.